Today we're in Chapter 4, Ethics and Social Responsibility. I'm not going to have a talking head today just because the slides are pretty thick and it'd just be really distracting. So one of the things we first want to do when we're looking at ethics is actually getting a baseline. And one of the ways we can get a baseline of ethics or really kind of understand what ethics are. And we have a whole course on business ethics that we teach here, that I teach here. And so this is a very kind of light introduction to what we do in a whole semester. But one of the things that we first do is start looking at what our own personal ethics are. So you can start by asking questions like, what characteristics would others use to describe you? Are you an honest person? Are you reliable? Are you aggressive? Are you competitive? And these might be things that people will describe you by, some adjectives or adverbs, but you might want to ask, what do you want them to describe you as, and how do you start acting in such a way that they start describing you like that? So our actions they're connected to our belief system. So what are the most important beliefs you hold to use to make your decisions in life? And then they have some examples here. The next step is to question, where did your beliefs come from? Now, a lot of times we'll have these beliefs about people, about ourselves, that when we actually look at them, we think, no, that's not how I believe anymore, but we're still acting upon them. So every now and then it's good to do this self-evaluation. Okay, I believe nice guys finish last. Well, where did I learn that from? Well, I learned that from my grandpa, who always seemed to be pissed off. Well, is that true? No, I know a lot of nice guys that are doing really, really well and at the top of their game. So maybe I need to change that story about how the world works. Then the last question they're asking is, how do your relationships reflect your character and beliefs? And sometimes our relationships will really actually pull us one way or another. We might know, well, my body's important to me. I don't believe in smoking, but then I get around friends that smoke, and you hang out with them, and you kind of get used to it. I had a friend in the Army that would chain smoke, so he'd light the new cigarette with the old one, and I hung around him a lot. And when he got transferred, I actually went through withdrawals, wanting, I'd walk by a bar and I'm like, oh, that smells so good. It only lasted a couple months, but still, this idea that your friends influence how your ethics are manifest, maybe. I don't know. Okay, workplace deviance. So we have ethical behavior. We want to conform to society's accepted principles of right and wrong, unless those principles are really warped. One example I have of conforming or non-conformity was I was working at IBM as a consultant, so we're at a customer's plant. We're working with the customer on a regular basis, daily basis, if not hourly. And we get a new member of the team. He flies in, Bart. Nice guy. I worked with him on other projects. Really enjoyed his company. He comes in wearing jeans. Okay, he flew in. No big deal. Next day he comes in with jeans. Now we're used to slacks and not necessarily a dressy shirt, but a button-up shirt of some sort. Collar. He had a collared shirt, but he kept on wearing jeans. After 3 or 4 days, the rest of the team started not talking to him, not going to lunch with him, not inviting him to do things, so they were kind of ostracizing him. And they started talking to the team lead. She talked to him, and he said, you know what? I don't want to wear jeans. He came out for another week. He didn't want to wear slacks. Came out the next week, just wore jeans again. And this guy's getting paid pretty well to do what we're doing. So he could afford it, but he chose not to, and then he was moved off the team. He didn't get fired, but he moved off the team. So that would be, we call that workplace deviance because they're breaking the norms of the society or the group. So Unethical. Okay, workplace deviance. Another definition you need to know: unethical behavior that violates organizational norms. And the norms aren't necessarily things that we write out, but they're things that our team or your work group. These are things we do. Like we always got there before 8. So, and in fact, if you weren't there 10 minutes before 8, it was kind of like, what? And you always worked till 5. So if you started leaving early, because really you have to get 40 hours a week of time billed between Monday and Thursday before you fly out. So normally people would work till 6 or 7 every night. So if somebody's leaving before 5, you're like, oh, are you sick? Because it's, again, norms. Now, there's different types of norms and minor versus serious norms. So this chart lays it out pretty well. We have organizational and interpersonal norms. We have minor versus serious. Minor norms, stuff we'd talk to you about. If you're leaving early, taking excessive breaks, intentionally working slowly, or what we call soldiering. Those are minor offenses that you'll get talked to, and if it keeps on happening, we'll write you up, and then we'll take corrective action. There's also political deviances where we might be showing favoritism. Now, this can be your manager that's showing favoritism. I've had that problem before, and you're just like, hey, wait a minute, and how do you interact, and how do you take care of that when your manager is the one who's showing favoritism? Gossiping, blaming. This last one, competing non-beneficially, has more to do with if you're in sales or if you're a buyer. All those are offenses that we talk to people about. Now, on this other side, when you find somebody sabotaging equipment, accepting kickbacks, lying about hours, stealing from the company, these are things we'd fire people for. Sexual harassment, verbal abuse, stealing from coworkers, endangering coworkers, again, fireable. In fact, there was this guy that I worked with, great production operator, had been with the company for 20 years. And he and this 20-something coworker started texting back and forth, and their texts were a little flirty. And one day she walked by and he slapped her on the butt. Now she didn't complain. She laughed, but her boyfriend complained, and we really liked this guy, and we didn't want to fire him. And we finally got hold of our HR at corporate to get some coaching, and they were like, is he still there at work? He's not. Why haven't you guys had him leave the plant? He should have been fired by now. Just so some of these things are so egregious that we need to take care of it immediately. There's no questions. When you're found out that you're lying about your hours, you shouldn't be working there anymore. That's it. At least for the places I've worked. Okay, we're going to stop right there, and I know we've only gone through like 3 slides, but I'll start up part 2 in a little bit.